Hi, welcome back. This is exercise 4.1, responsive layout. To get started, I would like to help you guys set up your computer for testing the responsive site on different size screens for different devices without actually having to go out and buy all those different size devices and screens. To do so, we're going to be using a free online tool at this website called quirktools.com/screenfly. One of the nice things about Screenfly, we can test it in a single location, and because it's online, there's no need to download any special software. One of the nice things about Screenfly is that it's very clean, and you can see down here at the bottom there's different icons, and it allows you to switch between different size screens, tablet, and mobile, so you can then preview your site on smaller and larger screens. And it even includes a rotate display button down here so you can test out portrait versus landscape view. Now, one of the things you'll notice when you come to Screenfly is that it requests that you paste in the URL of the site that you'd wish to test out. And notice that they're asking for an HTTP address, so they're actually looking for a proper website address. And you may have noticed from the previous exercises that whenever we've been opening our files locally on our computer, we're not actually getting an HTTP address. What we end up seeing is something like this, where the URL starts off with file : / and then has just the folder structure to the file on our local computer. And that's perfectly fine for previewing your website before you decide to upload it to your hosting server. However, you'll notice that with Screenfly, if we copy and paste this here, that when we go to view the site, it doesn't work. And the reason why is that it's trying to go to an HTTP address or an actual URL on the internet. So hypothetically, you could actually upload your site, your responsive site, and then you could test it here if you already have it up online. And if you're interested to go that route, after watching this video, you can go ahead and skip to the video titled Site Publishing Using FTP, and that will teach you how to use FileZilla to upload your site files to your remote server, and then you can just paste your domain name in here and you can use Screenfly to test out your responsive design that way. And if you don't want everyone on the internet to be able to see it while you're still fixing it, you could create a folder on your server called test or something like that that only you know how to get to, and you could just drag the files into there. Now, the only disadvantage of that is that obviously anytime you make a change to the CSS locally, you'll have to save it and then upload it to your server to then test it in Screenfly. So in order to kind of speed up the production process and to be able to continue to just work locally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install a testing server on my local computer. And there's a few different options for doing that. For Mac, you can download MAMP, which will give you the ability to install a testing server on your computer that you can use. And if you're on Windows, you can use WAMP or WAMP server. So both of these are free, and I'll show you how to set this up on Mac. Unfortunately, I don't have a Windows computer, but I can tell you that the way this works is you would download WAMP, and you have to select the one that specifically will match your computer. They have a 32-bit version and a 64-bit version. And if you're uncertain about which settings or specs your computer has, there is a link inside the discussion area you can go check out that has some other links to sites that have directions. Or actually, if you Google search Windows, how to check if your system is 32 or 64-bit, you'll see that there's a thread that explains that on the Microsoft website. Okay, so basically what you do though, essentially is you download WAMP, and when you install it, after you install it, it creates this directory on your computer, which the default is c:/wamp/www. And any files you put inside this www folder, you can access in your browser by typing in http://localhost. So for example, let's say hypothetically that you were creating a website for a coffee farm in Hawaii. And maybe you name the folder, your main root folder for that website project, you call it Kona Farms. Then what you would do is you would take your website folder, Kona Farms, and you would drag that whole website folder into the www folder inside that WAMP folder. And then to access that in your browser as a local testing server, you would type in the domain localhost/Kona Farms to get into that folder. Now it's very similar on Mac when you install MAMP. So MAMP, you can come here and you can click the Download Now link. This one over here that says Buy Now, that's for the paid version, which is MAMP Pro. And for our needs, it's fine to just use the free version here. So you would click Download Now and you would install MAMP. Now when you download it and install it, you can find it in your Applications folder. And I even created a shortcut here on my dock for it. Like that, it says MAMP. And when you click that, when you bring it up, you'll see this little screen pops up, and what happens is each of these lights here will light up green when the server starts. If you go down here to Preferences, there's these different tabs here, and the very last tab here, this button that says Apache, if you go ahead and click that, this actually allows you to choose any folder on your computer that you'd like to be the root directory of your local server. So I have a folder called Sites on my computer, so I just I went ahead and went into Select, and I just selected my username, and then I selected Sites, for example, and clicked Open. And that way now any files I put in my Sites folder, I can access by going to localhost in the browser. So once you set this up, you can just kind of like minimize this or hide it. And what I'd want to do is I would want to find that the files for my website, and I want to move those into the same folder I just specified. So I would drag those files, in my case, into my Sites folder. And then to access that in the browser now, we can go into our default browser, and again on Windows you would just type localhost / and then whatever the name of the folder was that you had placed inside the www folder inside that WAMP folder. On Mac it's a little bit different. Aside from writing localhost, you have to also put the colon symbol and a port number, which the default port number for MAMP is :8888. And then once you go in there, you can find the folder of your website project. In my case, I have a few folders here to get to it. And then your website will come up. So you'll notice the difference is that instead of previewing this file from the local file system like this, using file : / you can actually preview it from a local testing server that you've just installed onto your computer. So this URL now is usable in Screenfly, so I can go ahead and copy this and come back into Screenfly, and I can paste this guy here under http:// we'll just paste that in there, and you'll see that it starts off with localhost now instead, and we'll click go. And we can now see our site, and we can test it on all those different size devices. Cool. So the nice thing about this is not only can I test my site now, but there's no need for me to upload it because this is actually running off a testing server on my local computer. So if I bring those files up in Sublime Text, then I can edit the code as I go and save it, and I'll see the changes in here by right-clicking inside the frame and selecting Reload Frame. I'll be able to instantly see those site changes. Now there is one last option. If you're not sure that you want to install WAMP or MAMP as a local testing server on your computer, at the absolute least what you can do is you can bring up your files here in your from your local file system, and you can simply just drag the corner of the browser to see any changes. So like at this particular width of screen here, you can see the social icons are on the right hand side, but when there's no longer any room for them to fit, I have it set up in the completed code so that they jump up here into the logo panel. And as the screen gets smaller, there are other changes like this, such as the logo getting smaller and flipping the navigation underneath it like that. Okay, so that's how we set up our local testing environment for building responsive layouts. Let's go ahead and move on to the responsive layout exercise.